Number 19, Dustin Hoover says, big fan. Thanks, Dustin. Just wanted clarity on John 15, 1 through 8. Is Jesus talking about people losing their salvation or people walking away from him and the faith? Can't wait for your teaching on Hebrews. God bless. I'm looking forward to it as well, Dustin, as I go to the John passage and we'll look at it together. I am currently doing my massive prep study on women in ministry and all the related passages. I have tons of stuff coming your guys' way from that. I'm not really sure how I'm going to teach it, whether it's just one giant teaching or probably a couple different videos. We'll see. We'll see. I have tons of research still to do that may take weeks or even possibly months. Sorry, I appreciate your guys' patience. Just want to do a real good job with it. And then we'll do Hebrews after that is over. So John 15, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes. Okay, so takes away, we'll talk about that in a second. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. I always thought this was really interesting the way it's worded. He's like, you can do nothing. It's up to you. You want your life to amount to ultimately nothing. Like that's what you can do apart from him. It's just, you can do a lot, but it ends up being nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered and thrown into the fire and burned. Okay, that does not seem to be referring to people who are saved, right? Okay, so that's like, is that suggesting you can lose your salvation? I'm not going to talk right now about too much about the he takes away. There's a debate on this. Does it takes away or lifts up? Let's just skip, because whatever we answer there, we still have to deal with this. That if anyone does not abide in me, he's thrown away like a branch and withers. To abide in means to remain. So some would say this is evidence that you can lose your salvation because you were originally in Christ, but you didn't remain in Christ. You didn't abide in Christ. But one of the problems I think with John in particular, and really the Gospels, when we approach the Gospels from a Christian perspective, is that sometimes we forget that they were introducing the gospel to a group of Jewish people. And then it sometimes takes on a different connotation, some of the passages we're reading. And this is one of them. So the vine terminology in the Old Testament, Israel is the vine. But Jesus, he is like the true vine. He's like true Israel. And your connection to God has to do with you being connected to him. That's the big reveal moment for the Gospel of John here. Hey, Israel, you're not just saved by you being Israel. You need to know you are all about me. And you individually are not part of this kingdom unless you're plugged into me, into Christ, not Mike Winger, who is not necessary in anybody's life. So John 15, I'm the true vine. My Father's the vine dresser. He calls God his Father. He says that he's the true vine. It's all about Christ. It's all about him. Israel was all about him. And you're not truly going to be part of Israel unless you are part of him. So every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. Every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes. This is all about like, hey, it's all going to depend on your connection to Christ. So then who are the branches that don't abide? Well, here's where I think we've gone sometimes a little beyond the text here. Okay, if anyone does not abide in me, he's thrown away like a branch and withers. I think this represents the same thing John has been dealing with all along, which is he came to his own, John 1, but his own did not receive him, right? Or you don't believe me because you don't believe Moses. Right? Jesus is coming into a Jewish community that should be primed and ready to trust the Messiah. Some of them do, many of them don't. And that's, I think, what he's talking about. Hey, Israel, you've been used to carry the promise of the Messiah, and now you've borne the Messiah, and now will you abide in the Messiah? Will you be in Christ? So when you look at it like that he's coming from a community of people who some accept Christ and some reject Christ, but they all were supposed to because he's the true vine. I think it just doesn't relate to whether you can lose your salvation or not. That's my view on the John passage. It just doesn't relate. My opinion, I encourage you to read through all of John and recognize that Jesus is, throughout John, entering into a community of people who in one sense are the people of God, but are they really individually part of God's kingdom truly? and that will depend on how they treat Jesus. And that, I think, is what you're getting there.